Well, it's finally officially official. The NHL will not be going to the Olympics. Today we're going to take a look at statements released by the NHL as well as the NHLPA and discuss the potential future of an international tournament to get best on best for the fans. We'll discuss that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we finally have an official announcement from the NHL as well as the NHLPA that the NHL players will not be going to the Beijing Olympics coming up here in February 2022. So obviously, as we've talked about here in the past 3 or 4 days, we were pretty much 99.9%, almost 100% really guaranteed that this was going to come. In the last day or two, we've heard reports from NHL insiders like Sarah Valley, Dreger, Friedman, etc., all indicating that they've had sources saying that the decision was made. They were not going. They just had to notify all the different partners and everybody involved before they can make an official announcement to the public. So this is an unfortunate situation caused by the COVID because of the NHL schedule and so many games having to be postponed. Obviously, this is a bad situation overall. Fortunately for NHL players, we haven't seen anybody really have any kind of severe illness, which is great. Also, the other concern that was going into this was the rules in Beijing, and if you pop positive over there, potential 3 to 5 week quarantine period with really nobody there to advocate for you, because as we've seen, many countries are not sending diplomats to the Olympics this year. It's kind of a form of a political protest in a way. So it's, there is some risk involved for sure, but this is not going to be. Now, could the Olympic tournament itself and the whole Olympics possibly be postponed and delayed a year like we saw with the Summer Olympics? Maybe, but it's not looking that way just yet. I know some NHL reporters have indicated that they feel that it is a possibility, but given the the close proximity here of when things are supposed to take place, we're not that far away. I would think if an announcement was going to be made, it probably would have been done by now, but you never know. Things could escalate with this whole Omicron variant situation around the world. There's still a lot of time for a lot of stuff that could happen that the situation may be very, very different. So we'll have to see how that impacts things. But before we go any further, I do want to take a minute and look at the statements released here by the league as well as the Players Association. So let's first up take a look at the statement from the NHL. The statement says, with the NHL's regular season schedule having been materially disrupted as a result of increasing COVID cases and rising number of postponed games, the National Hockey League announced today that NHL players will not participate in the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. The National Hockey League respects and admires the desire of NHL players to represent their countries and participate in a best-on-best tournament. Accordingly, we have waited as long as possible to make this decision while exploring every available option to enable our players to participate in the 2022 Winter Olympic Games. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman said, unfortunately, given the profound disruption to the NHL's regular season schedule caused by recent COVID-related events, 50 games already have been postponed through December 23rd. Olympic participation is no longer feasible. We certainly acknowledge and appreciate the efforts made by the IOC, the IIHF, and the Beijing Organizing Committee to host NHL players, but current circumstances have made it impossible for us to proceed despite everyone's best efforts. We look forward to Olympic participation in 2026. Our focus and goal must remain to responsibly and safely complete the entirety of the NHL regular season and Stanley Cup playoffs in a timely manner. Therefore, with stringent health protocols once again in place, we will be utilizing available dates from February 6th to the 22nd window originally contemplated to accommodate Olympic participation to reschedule games that have been or may yet be postponed. So clearly, like I said before, it was very much expected that the league was going to make sure that this was strictly based on their schedule being, severely disrupted here, and had nothing to do with the protocols in Beijing. I mean, even though there was concerns over it, at the end of the day, it is not the main reason. They probably would have dealt with it if the players really, really wanted to, if the situation was different and the schedule wasn't being impacted. Now, this is the statement put out by the NHLPA and President Don Fehr. So let's take a look at that statement. It says, since the CBA extension was reached 17 months ago, NHL players have looked forward with great anticipation to once again participating in Winter Olympics. Until very recently, we seemed to be on a clear path to go to Beijing. COVID-19 has unfortunately intervened, forcing dozens of games to be postponed this month alone. No matter how much we wish it were not the case, we need to utilize the Olympic period to reschedule these games. Certainly, the players and hockey fans are quite disappointed, but playing a full 82-game season this year, something the pandemic has prevented us from doing since 18-19 season, is very important. We expect NHL players will return to the Olympics in 2026. So as you can see from both statements, the NHL says it looks forward to Olympic participation in 2026, and the NHLPA says they expect it in 2026. So even though the CBA that was negotiated, like I said, 17 months ago, included Olympic participation, it really wasn't, continuing on participation. So the fact that they're mentioning about going in 2026 is certainly a positive and optimistic. So, like I said, if something happens here last minute and the Olympics get postponed, like we saw with the Summer Olympics, and they push it back a year, then maybe they can reconsider this next year, because the players will certainly be fighting for it and want to participate if at all possible. Like I said, a lot of these players, they either was going to be their last chance to go, or in some cases their first and only chance possibly to go. And it's, they're really, hungry for this opportunity. They want to get a best on best tournament. And as fans, I think it's fair to say that seeing best on best in a country, international type setting is really entertaining, really fun. We really haven't had a major situation like that since, really, to me, the 2010 Olympics was like the peak pinnacle of entertainment when it comes to that. And it really has gone downhill since that time. But obviously, we had 2014, 2018 NHL players did not go. We're not going now. We need to get back on having a more strong international calendar of events, though, to have more international hockey to look forward to, in my opinion. The World Championships obviously take place every year in the spring, but that's not, as much as it's World Championships, it's not that same level of tournament like you get with Olympics or World Cup, because it really, the players that can go largely depend on who's available, who's not in the playoffs. It gets so different. You're not necessarily getting the best of the best. So to me, a lot of NHL reporters and people have been saying that we really need to focus on getting the World Cup back, but not a gimmicky World Cup. Like, we don't need Team North America. We don't need a young gun team. Let's invite, the top, either 8 or 10 countries that are on the, around the world that are produce great hockey, and have just a best on best tournament, and just keep it that simple. Or if you can't do 10 teams, maybe do the top 9 with, the rest of Europe comprising a team. But you don't want to have a situation where a player actually has to play against their own country. To me, that makes zero sense. Really stupid, in my opinion. You don't want to see, Team North America against Team Canada or Team USA. It just doesn't make any sense to me here at all. I didn't really enjoy that World Cup that was gimmicky that way. It was okay, but not great. Just let's get back to basics here and proceed. But if they can get back to having an international calendar where we have a World Cup, say in 2024, then the Olympics in 26, and we have a big international hockey event to look forward to every second year, that to me would be the much better way to promote the game as well around the world, and to have more of this best on best type of tournaments, so that more of these guys can have an opportunity to display their skills, represent their country, and have that chance. I mean, that's at the end of the day, not only do these players dream of being NHL players and Stanley Cup champions, but many of the players that are in the league today grew up with NHL players going to the Olympics. People my age are a little bit older. You've seen both cases. You've seen cases where the NHL's gone and didn't go. So it's, maybe not quite as big a deal for some people in that age bracket. But you get guys that are like early in the mid-20s. Like, they grew up watching NHL players be the best in the world going to the Olympics. So they dream not only about being Stanley Cup champions, but being Olympic champions as well for their country. So it's a major, major big deal for them. That's why it's so important. Like, for the previous generation, it was different, right? I mean, NHL players have not been going forever. So we'll see where this goes, but I do think this is going to lead to a bigger discussion around the international hockey calendar and more events being planned for the future, so that we don't really miss out as fans and have an opportunity to grow the game worldwide. So let me know what your thoughts are on this official announcement from the NHL, what it could lead to, and would you like to see a standard World Cup every 4 years as well? So every 2 years we have a major international hockey event to look forward to. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and we'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.